EV batteries and the charging of them. I've been going over this for quite a while about what you should charge it to, what level, and so on. Okay, 100%, 80%, 70%, how low should it go? 40%, 30%, 20%, zero. We've kind of gone round and round on this stuff. And I've come up with something that I think is sensible, and I would just love to have comments on this because it is a discussion more than anything else. I had a Chevy Bolt. I used to charge it to Hilltop Reserve, which was 87%. And, you know, the thought was if you charge it to 100%, the voltage was too high. The cell voltage, it appears that anything above 4.2 volts can be damaging to the batteries. Now, that's not set in stone by any means. But most of them I have seen do not charge much over 4.2 and mostly less. One of the things that happens when you charge a battery is, of course, you have to put a higher voltage into the battery than the battery's voltage. Otherwise, nothing happens. It just sits there. So, what I noticed with my Chevrolet Bolt, I do have an OBD reader for it. What happens is the voltage goes up around 4.2 when you're charging to 100%. Okay? 4.2. However, once you shut the charger off and leave it for a short time, you will end up with 4.16. And it kind of stays that way until you start driving the vehicle and bringing the voltage down. Okay, the 4.16, as far as I can tell, is not damaging. And because the 4.2 doesn't stay there any length of time, I don't know that's a problem. Now, here I'm showing you the voltages of the different sections of the vehicle, and that 4.16 goes throughout. And I've had this happen a number of times. I did screenshots on the phone for this, get this voltage. I never did one on when it was just finished charging, but it was about 4.2. So, if I charge this battery to 100% and it's 4.16 as the voltage, is that really a problem? Maybe I should charge the thing at I should charge the thing to 100% all the time. Okay. So, what's the solution here? Okay, let's look at another readout for this OBD. Now, I've charged this car to 100%, and if you look at this thing, you'll see that it's only showing, it's showing 100%, which is what the readout is on the dashboard of the car. But the actual charge is only about 96%. And that corresponds to the pack capacity, which is showing the battery capacity, which is just under 57%, 56.7. I'm gaining from this that this thing is only charging to 96% most of the time whenever I charge it. So it is leaving 4% of the battery. Maybe that's to lengthen battery life because of the lower voltage. I don't know. That probably corresponds to that 4.16. So lots of numbers flying around here. But what it really means is this thing has already got a 5% dead zone, so to speak. That it doesn't charge beyond anyway. I know all the European cars leave some sort of gap. Tesla says they don't. I'm not really sure if they do or not. And Tesla says, 95% is great. And the only reason he's saying the 95% is so that you have regenerative braking. Because if you charge to 100% on these things, you don't get any regenerative braking. And so there's a little loss of efficiency. Now that may be the only reason for doing it. Maybe these batteries are just fine at 100% charge because it really is only 95%. This is the issue that I'd come up with. The other issue is how far down should you let them go? Okay, almost everybody agrees that running these things below about 30% is not really good. It doesn't hurt them. It hurts them if it's left that way. Like I'm driving down the road and I come back and I got 20 miles left on the clock. Now I plug it in and it starts charging right then. And unless you're charging with 120 volt, it's going to get to that 20% fairly fast. And by the way, the 120 volt charger, which charges 3 or 4 miles per hour, is kind of useless in these cars. I don't care whether it's a Tesla or a Bolt or what it is. It's pretty useless and only be done when it's absolutely necessary. Okay, so low is bad. Below 30% is bad. High, I don't know. Here's Elon telling you 95%. Does it make that much difference? I mean, everybody talks about cycles. We don't do cycles in electric cars. It's very unusual for you to cycle these big batteries down. A cycle means going from 100% to 0 or some crazy thing like that. You almost never do that. It always runs, well, I think I'll charge the car tonight. I didn't charge it for a couple of days, and I've been driving to work, and you charge it back up. So it really, when someone says, well, you're going to reduce the number of cycles if you charge to 100%, I'm not sure that's really true. And besides, General Motors, they guarantee their Bolt for 100,000 miles. I think it's 8 years, 100,000 miles. And Tesla guarantees the Model S for 150,000 miles or 8 years. That's a long time. Are you going to keep the car that long? Or would you just say, wait, charge it up to the max, go for it? Do you really want to keep the car past 150 or 200,000 miles? Most people don't run them certainly past 200,000. There's a few people that put a lot of miles on them and run them right up. But most people, if you're running 20,000 miles a year, that's 10 years. Most people want to change their car every 10 years, so they're probably going to do that. I used to change them every 10 years. When the miles got up high, they usually got to about 150, 180,000, maybe 200. After 10 years, I'd throw the car away. So does it really make any difference? Okay, here's what I've come up with for what it's worth. I am going to charge that thing to 90%. And then I'm going to keep it charged. I go out for 5 miles, I don't charge it. I go out for 50, 60 miles, I charge it. Two basic reasons for that. I think it's better to keep the battery at a higher end of charge than a lower end, because there is damage on these things when they get really low. I just look at it that I get up in the morning. I'm retired, so I don't have to go to work. I get up in the morning, and this could happen to a guy that's working too. I want to take a trip. Or if you're working, your boss says, we need you to take a run down to such and such, and you got to use your own car. Okay, I want plenty of battery to do that. If I'm charging to 70 or 80%, especially if it's like a Bolt or maybe the Nissan Leaf or something, that's not going to be a lot of, there's not a lot left. If you've got a big Tesla, 300, 400 miles range, it probably doesn't make much difference. But I think I'm going to want to keep that charge on the high end. And I can charge to 90%. I could probably even charge to 95 and still get my normal regenerative braking when I start out. And so that 90%, maybe 95, is pretty much what I'm going to stick with. I'm driving a Model S now, and it's got 378 miles range, so it's got gobs. And I'm probably not going to run it down. But oftentimes I'll get up in the morning and say, well, I think I'll take a trip up to a mountain someplace. And I really, if I want to have to top it up, I don't want to top it up very much. So 90, maybe 95% is what I'm going to do. And if I get down to, say, 70%, 60%, I'm going to put it on a charger again. And I'm going to keep it up higher. Let me know what your comments are on this, because I'd like to know other people's thoughts on it. That's it on this one.